Hello everybody, welcome back to my desktop. We're going to do the flight planning today from Princess Juliana back to Miami. So we're going to do this one from scratch. We are American Airlines Flight 2219, departing Princess Juliana TNCM, going to KMIA. And if you do this and then select your aircraft, it will now fill in your alternate. And it's going to give you a flight plan. I use the PMDG first class config that I got from flightsim.to. This stuff is all pre-populated, so we're looking good. I use pounds as units, obviously, because we're US based. So we've been talking about SIDS and stars, and Miami's a bit of an interesting case as well. Particularly this flight. Now, departing out of Princess Juliana, it does not give you, at least the first option, does not give you, the main option does not give you a departure procedure. Now, I know from previous experience that the Modor 2 departure is the one that's typically used. It is listed right here as number 7. There is also number 9 here that has the Modor 2 departure. And I'm just going to take a quick look at both of these. So the important thing to kind of look at is to make sure that your arrival procedure, so which is the Vice 2 arrival from Maditz, is the same. I mean, it's going to be in basically all of these cases because you're coming into Miami from the same direction. Um, so what I want to look for is a flight plan that has a departure. This flight plan has a departure. This flight plan has a departure. Now I know that we can go over SJU and which is the San Juan VOR and a Coney FECO and up here to the Yankee 308, which is the same one we've got here. Doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. I mean, you can click on one, you can see that here. We were talking yesterday about the distance. You see plus 4.1. So that's option number 7. Let's look at option number 9. Again, doesn't really look that much different. It's going to make a difference of probably about 2 minutes in your flight plan. So, I would go ahead and select either of those. But what I'm going to do is just use this initial flight plan because you guys might not know what typically is used out of Princess Juliana or whatever departure that or whatever airport you're departing. So I'm going to go with just what they give me. Okay, so they've given us the arrival into Miami. They've given us no departure. So uh, let's go into the Navigraph Charts app and have a look. So again, runway 10, but there are no departures available. So I'm going to click select and it's going to show me all the options. Now this purple line here is where we want to go, obviously. So we want to select one of these departures that ends at Juice because Juice is along our line. Now it's going to prefer that you use either the BOPAT 2 departure or the Modor 2 departure. You can tell because these are the two that have the chart. Now, why do they prefer one of those two? I'll show you why. Let's go into airports. Let's go into Princess Juliana. Let's go into charts and let's go into standard instrument departures. Now let's come all the way back down here. Sorry about that. Come all the way back down here. So again, it was showing us that it prefers the BOPAT 2 and the Modor 2 departure. So if you look at the BOPAT 2 departure, this is an RNAV GNSS departure. Okay. If you look around the chart, it's going to give you obstacles. It's going to give you this notice here. The SID requires a minimum 1,200 foot ceiling, 2.8 nautical miles visibility to see and avoid the mountain east of the runway. So that's the departure end of the runway. We can look real quick here in Juliana. That's the mountain they're talking about. This hill off the end of the runway. They don't want you to hit it. So you've got to have at least that visibility to do it. Routing instructions may be superseded by radar vectors as soon as practical. Turn right. So this is a pretty clear instruction. You know, if you're not familiar with the airport, again, read the notes and make sure that you understand what they're telling you to do and why they're telling you to do it. So that's the BOPAT 2, the MODOR 2. Same thing. Routing may be superseded by radar vectors, which is not relevant to us on VATSIM or in the sim necessarily. Again, this note for 1,200 foot ceiling and the visibility, and it's a GNSS departure. So this is an RNAV departure. So why wouldn't they recommend either the Juliana 2, the Mullet 2, or the Pelican 2? So what is common among these? What's common among these three is that they are not RNAV departures. These are all based off the Papa Juliet Mike VOR, the St. Maarten VOR. And you can see, like, we can get to juice using this Juliana 2 departure. But if you look at it, intercept and track the Papa Juliet Mike radar radial 166, cross 10 DME, etc., etc. I mean, you have to come out and fly a DME arc and then heading a 325 to intercept this outbound. That's, you know, I mean, you can do it easily in a 737, but it's just more work than is necessary. Mullet 2 departure, same thing. This is based off the Papa Juliet Mike VOR. It is not an RNAV departure. You can see here radar required. And here's DME required. DME distance measuring equipment. And Pelican VOR, Pelican departure is the same thing. It's based off, you can see here, radar required, based off the Papa Juliet Mike VOR. And to get to juice, track 180 to distance 10.0 Papa Juliet Mike. You know, it's more work than needs to be done for an aircraft that's equipped with, with advanced navigation capabilities. Let's put it this way. I know out of personal experience that they basically always give departing jets, that is, the MODOR 2 departure. The BOPAT 2 departure is just fine as well. It really is 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Just they typically give them the MODOR 2. You can pick either one. So we'll go here again. We'll look at this again. You know, these are the options that are available. But clearly they're trying to this is a big hint that these are the only two. And if you want, you can click this, which will give you the chart as an overlay. And you can make it a little bit kind of darker, I guess you could say. And you'll see it's difficult to see the chart with all this stuff on here. So we're gonna pick the MODOR 2 departure, and we want the juice transition because this is on our flight plan. The juice transition. Could you do Gouda, and then from Judah to LARP? Sure, you could do that. But LARP, juice rather, is already on our departure, on our route. So we'll just click Add to Route, and then this gives us the departure. Now, in order to update the charts app, so if you look at the charts app, what they have here, it's MODOR 2 juice, direct Papa Juliet Mike, Bravo 520 juice, and then Bravo 520 LARP. We don't need juice twice in the flight plan. It's not once we load it in the actual FMC, it's not going to come up twice. But I just like to clean up the flight plan in the charts app. So motor to juice, direct Papa Juliet Mike. Papa Juliet Mike is here. It's this one right here. So essentially, the way we have it set up right now, it's saying fly the motor to departure and then come back to Papa Juliet Mike and then go back out to juice, which doesn't make any sense. So what I am going to do is simply remove direct PJM and then hit done. That's going to remove that section that we don't need. You don't have to do that. I just like to clean up my chart. So that's what we've got here, okay, on the way out. Now on the way in, as I said, they're very, very good at loading an approach, an arrival rather, a standard terminal arrival route that fits the runway that you are approaching. Now this one, they've got the Vice 2 Mediz arrival, which is perfect. It works just fine for us. But here's the curious thing, okay? It ends here at Bills, and there's nothing here, right? So we've got to select an approach. It says 24 approaches available. Okay, good. So which of the 24 approaches are we going to pick? Well, if we stay here on the flight, it says runway 8 right. Okay, that's our arrival runway. Let's take a quick look at the weather, like we talked about yesterday. The terminal aerodrome forecast, winds 150 at 6, gusting 2.8. That's pretty juicy, But the terminal aerodrome forecast, so this is the current forecast, 12 gusting 20. In several hours from now, they're calling for 140 at 8, which is pretty good. There is a runway 3012. 12 would be coming in this way, which would be a little bit better for the wind, but you would have to come all the way around and then do that. So we're just going to take runway 8 right, which is what they've got. And we're anticipating that the weather is going to settle down. Now, if I looked at this and it said 140, 12 gusting 20, and this, 5 hours or however many hours in the future, 8 hours in the future, said 140 at 25 gusting 40, the weather's obviously getting worse. The winds are getting worse. Then I would strongly consider runway 12. But in this case, they anticipate the weather getting better, and then you can see further out in the terminal aerodrome forecast. Now they're talking variable at 4. So I'm expecting the weather to get better. Visibility is fine. Broken clouds at 25,000. Here it says scattered 4, scattered 25. Here it's broken 25. So I'm anticipating weather to improve across the board as we're heading up to Miami. So we're going to go then and select our approach. These are the different options available to us. I don't know why they have the runway 30 options kind of open and listed up here. But this is what we're coming into. We're coming into runway 8 right. So these are our 3 options. We've got the ILS 8 right. We've got the RNAV Yankee 8 right. And we've got the RNAV Zulu 8 right. So I'm going to open all 3 of these. And I'm going to look here at, okay, so this is where our arrival ends, right? And what you would prefer to have is something that connects to your arrival, to have an approach that connects to your arrival. In other words, if our arrival ended at Fogso, that would be wonderful, because then you're just right on your approach. There's nothing to kind of figure out between here and where the approach starts. But because there isn't, we've got really 3 options. If you zoom in a little further, we've got the runway Zulu 8 right, we've got the runway Yankee 8 right, or we've got the ILS runway 8 right final. Now, final is basically means you're going to get radar vectored to the final approach course. Okay. Now, I don't really have a preference between any of the three of these right now, simply because um, if I look at the chart, LPV, which is localizer performance with vertical guidance. Okay, an LPV approach is the gold standard of RNAV approaches. This is basically the LNAV version, or the RNAV version, excuse me, of a ILS approach. This is the best you can get. So an LPV approach, I'm thrilled with. I'm very happy with an LPV approach anytime. LNAV, VNAV is slightly less precise, and therefore it has higher minimums. And the LNAV approach is the equivalent of a VOR approach, and so it's got the higher of the three, the highest of the three. So there's our runway RNAV Zulu runway 8 final. Then I'm going to click here, look at the RNAV Yankee. What do we have here? Straight in RNP011. So if you know anything about I did a video on approaches, and the Zulu approach is always going to have the lowest minimums, and you can see that here. The Zulu approach has got minimums of 277. The Yankee approach has minimums of 397. So if I've got a choice, I'm always taking the one with the lower minimums, which is RNAV Zulu. So RNAV Yankee's out of the picture. ILS runway 8 right. Let's have a quick look at that. What are the minimums here? Minimums here are 450. It's very unusual to have an ILS approach with minimums that high at 442 feet above ground level. It's pretty unusual to have an ILS approach with minimums that high. Usually they're 200 feet. I don't know particularly why this one is that high, but I do know that the RNAV Zulu has lower approach minimums, so I'll take that. And the other thing I like about RNAV approaches versus ILS approaches, I'll take an RNAV approach if it's got the same or better minimums over an ILS approach. And the reason is, with the ILS approach, you've got to tune the localizer, dial in the final approach course. It's not that big a deal. It's 2 steps, and you might, on the missed approach, you're going to have to put in a backup frequency for the missed approach, which is right here, the Dolphin VOR. So there's just a few more steps to handling an ILS approach just because you have to deal with the radios. So given the fact that the RNAV approach has lower minimums, and there's less for me to do because I'm lazy, I'm taking the ILS or the RNAV approach. So we'll select the RNAV Zulu final, okay? And so now this adds let's have another real quick look at the chart there. Approach 8 right, RNAV Zulu. Here we are. All right, so you've got 2 initial approach fixes, which we don't want because they're out in the middle of nowhere. So this approach is going to start with, for us, is going to start at Chrome. So we're going to get vectored. It's an intermediate fix. We're going to get vectored to the final approach course. Depends on where. Really kind of depends on where ATC brings us in. So let's look here at the approach. So the arrival brings us in, and it ends at Bills. So we can intercept this final approach course anywhere we want, basically, anywhere outside lawn, because lawn, the Maltese cross, that's glide slope intercept. So we have to intercept someplace outside of lawn. I personally like a longer approach if I can get it. I wouldn't want to be vectored in to intercept here at like 5 miles and then have to make the descent from there. I'd rather be set up out here at Chrome and intercept somewhere out here and just make a nice lazy 13-mile approach, final approach. So lawn is going to be the earliest where we'd be vectored in. Copra is not too bad, 9 miles. Chrome is the furthest option for us. I prefer Chrome, and that's what I'm going to plan to do. Now, here's a secret of flying instrument approaches that nobody's going to tell you. In the 737 or in any other aircraft that you are flying, you want, let's say you prefer, for whatever reason, to start your approach at Copra rather than Chrome. I don't know what the reason might be, but let's just say you do. So would you want to remove the Chrome waypoint from your flight plan? No. Always load approaches with as many from the furthest waypoint that you can. Simply because if for whatever reason let's say you loaded it from Copra, you delete the Chrome waypoint, then you come in and you get delaying vectors out this way, and ATC brings you in and says, it tells you somewhere out here, proceed direct Chrome, cleared for the RNAV approach. You don't have Chrome in your flight plan, in your FMC. If you load the entire thing, then let's say you're coming out here and somewhere out here, ATC says proceed direct Copra. That's fine. You just select Copra, hit direct, and off you go, and you'll bypass Chrome. But you don't want to remove waypoints that you could use, prematurely without knowing whether you're going to need it or not. You might prefer Copra, load it all the way from Chrome, and that's a really important point in instrument approaches. So now, how are we going to get from bills to Chrome? Let's take a look at the star and see if it gives us any hints as to how we might want to do that. Here's the approach. Let's take a look at everything. RNAV 1, GPS required, radar required, jet aircraft only. We talked about that one. Landing east, use runway 9 transition. Landing west, use runway. Okay, so let's see here. Anything else? All right, so we're pretty much good. So now down here in the lower left-hand corner, we're flying runway 8 right. We're landing runway 8 right. So what it tells us to do, this tells us all the waypoints on the way in, right? Nenki, Medice, Wilmes, Clier, Vice, etc., etc. Sistio cross Dahlia at above 6,000. Then on a track 272 to Bills at 5,000. All right, so here's Dahlia at 6,000. Then on a track of 272 to Bills at 5,000. Now, when there's a blue line below the altitude, that means at or above. If you've got a line above and below it, that means at 5,000. So this is 6,000 or above. This is at 5,000. So you've got to get to Bills at 5,000, cross Bills at 5,000 on a track of 272. Then this is the key part. Expect radar vectors to the final approach course. So that's what we need to know. That's how we're going to get from Bills to Chrome, or to the final approach course. Now, if you're flying this yourself, you're going to have to give yourself radar vectors, and I'll show you how to do that. And if you're flying on VATSIM, presumably if you've got a controller, they're going to obviously they're going to do that for you. If you don't have a controller, you're again going to have to give yourself vectors. So we'll look how to do that. So let's go into the 737 and we'll have a look at how we do all this fun stuff. So we've now got the flight plan loaded, and I've got my sim brief panel, which I love. All right, so now departures and arrivals. I'm gonna come here, departure out of Juliana, runway 10. We know we want the Modor 2 and we want the juice transition, right? So there we go. Execute that. Then we come back here, arrival, Miami. We want the RNAV, RNAV Zulu 8 right. We don't want either of these transitions. Remember, we talked about that. We don't want either of those. And this is the Vice 2 arrival 08, both runways. So that's what we want. And it's the Mediz transition. And you can see that here on our flight plan, Mediz. So we select that, execute. Now we go to the legs page. This is what we were talking about before, where, so we've got, yeah, that it gives you every time. So if you come here and you select plan here, it's going to show you this view. Let me just get myself settled here. And then what you can do is you can use this step button to walk yourself through the plan, right? Now again, what happened here is we've got juice twice. So we got climb ahead to 420, Modor, juice, then come back to the Papa Juliet Mike. That's what we talked about before. Then the next choice that we have here is juice, right? And that's the one we want. We want to get rid of the Papa Juliet Mike entry right there. So we copy juice, come back here to juice, copy over it. So now we've got Modor, juice, LARP, etc. Let's open up our charts app and we'll see this. Make it a little easier to do. I gotta load my TNCM to KMIA. Alright, we'll hide that. Modor 2 departure. This is the departure we're flying. So now we've got track of 096 to 420, then Modor, then juice, which is the next waypoint, and then after juice, LARP, PASIC. See that? We've got these here. So we're good to go. And now we've got the Vice 2 arrival. So here's Vice. And that's right there. And then we're flying the Mediz transition. So we've got Mediz. Let me open this just a little bit further so you can see it better. You've got Mediz, Wilmas, Clier, Jets, Vice, Mediz, Wilmas, Clier, Jets, Vice. And it's going to bring us all the way down until we get here to Bills. And then it says Vector. So what's going to happen when you get to Bills? First of all, what you want is you want your heading to be 172. You're going to want to dial in 172 in your heading selection here. And then when you get to Bills, or you're just about to Bills, and you're going to be doing an outbound vector, you would switch then to heading select mode. And then it would continue out. I'm sorry, 272, pardon me. You would want to pre-select 272. And then it's going to fly in VNAV, or excuse me, in LNAV. It's going to fly the arrival for you. Then Dahlia outbound is going to be 272. So before you get to Bills, you're going to want to engage heading select, and then it's going to continue outbound 272. And what you're landing runway 8 right, okay? And if you look here on the approach chart, you can see the inbound heading is 272, or 092. I'm sorry. So 272 and 092. What's the difference between those? 180. right? So this is an outbound for the inbound course for the final approach. So what you're going to want to do is fly some distance until you are past. You're going to want to fly some distance on a heading of 272 until you're out here past Chrome. And then what I do is I'll do 60-degree turns. I'll do 360-degree turns to get myself turned around. So I'd go 272 to 332, and that's going to turn me, kind of this way. And then I would do, what would it be? 032 is going to turn me somewhat this way. And then that's going to help me intercept. And then once you intercept, obviously you just hit the approach button and you'll intercept the 092 inbound. So these are, again, a little bit different in terms of approaches, because it's got this vector track. But it's good. It's good to see how they're built. Good to see how the arrival is connected to the approach. These are somewhat complex, the ones that we did yesterday and today. But hopefully that gives you some insight into what I'm looking for and how I'm looking to build the flight plan and put things together. I would say that one of the really important parts is to make sure, let's go back into the charts app, it's easier. Make sure you read the notes. Make sure you read the notes. Runway 8 right. This is going to tell you all you need to do. Expect radar vectors to the final approach course. So it's going to answer questions you have for you, because this ends out here. You say, well, okay, what do I do now? Yeah, hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. And we'll try and do some more straightforward ones as well. But I want to keep this series going, keep sharing these things with you guys, and hopefully help you guys become better instrument pilots. And I hope you guys are having a great day, and take care.